pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Corey, do you want these approval minutes individually?
Sure, I have to enter them individually,
Okay.
but
All right. We have the approval minutes from the January 22nd meeting, the special meeting. Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll move it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we have the approval of meeting or minutes from the February 13th regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
January 20th.
Second.
Sorry, January 23rd.
Yeah.
That was Kevin?
That was Kevin, and second was
Second.
Paul? Marilyn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then the approval of minutes from January 29th emergency meeting.
Move it.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then we have the approval of the CSE, CPSC recommendations. There's no questions. I'll need a motion to approve them as accepted or submitted. I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Do we have, we're up to public comment. Do we have any students in the audience? Would you like to state your name and are you here for government class?
No, I'm here to.
Okay. I'm sorry. All right, and is there any public comment? No? No? All right. We are up to possible discussion items. Yeah, we're flying through this. Is there a game tonight or something?
Somebody say game?
Okay, the first thing that I have a few things that I wanted to discuss. Board goals. I know we've been kicking this can down the road for a little bit. We've determined them. The admin, if I'm correct, has met to come up with possible reports to meet.
So we met on your goals. We what we did is actually just put everything together, and we're right. I mean, we can submit the goals back to you, what their input was from the goals. So ours is in a final version of everything.
Okay. So there was a date out there for February 28th. Does that date work for everyone? Do we want to keep that date and hopefully finalize everything by that time?
I think better off trying to keep it.
Okay.
And I think it's also important for the members in attendance to understand that we haven't been intentionally kicking this down the road. There have been weather-related issues, some personal matters that have, arisen within the district that have caused us to push this back. And then with the facilitator, who has been kind of helping us make the goals more concise and understand how we can collect the data to support them. It's based upon his availability too. So trying to coordinate a lot of schedules, I think it's important to understand that it's not necessarily of our doing. So
It just seems like we started so long ago.
yeah.
I definitely would stay with that date and time.
Yes.
All right, so Corey, if you could reach out to Kyle and let him know that that works for everyone.
Okay.
All right, district survey. Were you able to obtain?
We have. I mean, I have it, but it's a lot of data. So I need specific because there's. Do you want like the summary like we normally give? Each building principal would give the summary of towns in middle school, high school, and then the overall district presentation. That's what we've normally done in the last couple of years.
So it was never, like that survey that went out, it was never finalized into
No,
that?
it's all set. No, we have it. It's all set. What we normally did was present it to the board. So that,
Okay.
I mean, that's what we, there's so much information there. We usually, the principals usually present from each of their buildings, and then from the district, we would present, and then we would give you the information from the survey.
Is this different than the community survey that went out last spring?
No, this is that's.
One and the same?
This is the
that's-
community
Yeah, that is the.
survey,
Okay,
right?
it was labeled district survey, and then you talk about the principals actually delivering it. If there
Right,
was a,
so
if there was a question answered for the community base, it would seem like a brief summary of what was even asked and how is that,
right, so the
how is
survey.
it applied to be broke down by building versus an actual district overall.
So we did a building survey, then we did a district survey, and the community was involved in if they wanted to take that survey, and then staff took that survey as well,
Okay.
from each building.
Okay. So I'm thinking like whatever the question was, we would get the response, like the popularity of the response.
Yeah, I think you
Is
could,
that-
So you just want the what we presented the last 2 years.
Yeah, I don't know, is it, well,
for me, what I would expect
I don't
in
know if
in
they've
something
seen it.
like that, a
Maryland,
survey would
did you
be,
guys see
you got a
electric?
question, raw data, question format, answers,
No.
and then your summary on behind that. You know what I mean? The raw data just sits in the background, you guys can give a
yes,
summary to
exactly,
us.
right,
And
that's
then
what
we
it.
could go back through question by question if we want any more detail on
Then you would
summary, we
ask
could
us,
do that.
right. So that would, normally that's what we would do, is give you the summary of the data. We wouldn't go into exactly what you're asking for, and then if you wanted more detail, then we would provide that detail for you.
Roughly how many questions are we looking at?
I think the last survey, it was about 32 questions. The first survey was too long, I believe it was
Yeah,
50.
that was-
Yeah. So
Okay,
we-
so
That's
32
redundant.
questions in a range of 1
I
to
want
5,
to,
0 to
25 to
5?
32. I don't want to say
That's fine,
32.
that's fine.
Something like that.
What, the range of responses?
The staff was very high. I'm not going to tell you, I don't know the percentage. We didn't have a big community
Response?
take it, just because we left it out there. But the staff, we have a big turnout with the staff. I think it's like more like 70%, I want to say.
Okay. So is that something that can be provided next month?
Sure, yes, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And we'll be able to see that prior to the meeting, and then, like the raw data we could look at prior to, and then actually wait for the summary to be presented to us?
Is that something that can be done in electronic form, or?
Yeah, let me check. I don't see why not, but just let me
That way,
check,
if
you know,
anything stands out, and we wanna ask questions, we'll be able to
Absolutely.
handle that ahead of
Then
time.
you'll have the date in front of you.
Okay, budget. We only have one more meeting. Because in April, we have our March meeting, and then in April, we have to adopt the budget. So it's coming up really fast. I was able to meet with Tim, and thank you for answering all my questions. Basically, I wanted to meet with him just to give an idea of what the board was asking about, board reports, what you'd like to see. I had said, you know, the format of what we want to see, and then also keeping in mind that we would do the public forum again and asking input from the public. If money, you know, obviously we're not going to get that much. I think it was like 132,000. But if there's something that we can add, or if there's, you know, if we have to make cuts, where would they like to see the cuts? Is there anything else that the board, before we move forward with that, is there anything else that you were requesting or would like to see?
I think just a big picture overview, timeframes, workshop dates, things like that, areas that have typically been looked at and scrutinized. Any kind of general feedback like that would be beneficial ahead of time for us.
I think the dates, yeah.
Trends, if you're spotting any major trends in any one area. I hate to have you guess what the governor's proposals are and try to work all that out. I get that can be complicated, I understand, but if you are seeing any common trends in any of the budgetary categories, it'd be nice to have a heads up as to what those might be.
I mean, I know we're gonna talk a little bit about it later, but I think one of the things that I would have a little bit more if, I had some more input in last time. So right now, what I'm struggling going through all the line items and trying to do just that, make sure that things are categorized appropriately and make sure that I can come up with, you know, some sort of recommendation for trends and, you know, keep track of, all the expenses in different categories. It's a lot more detail oriented than I'm doing right now.
And he has a summary he'll be giving at the end of the day.
Okay.
At the end of the meeting.
All right. The other thing that I would like to discuss is the proposing an executive committee. Once again, this was done, since I've been on the board, I know Judy and Jim had started it, and then I think Jim and Frank Jim Meaning, previous board president, and Frank, the vice president. And what they did is they met with union reps, admin reps, kind of like from what I understand, was a roundtable discussion. Keeping the lines of communication opened, listening to what's happening, concerns, future ideas, requests. So I'm proposing, if there's an interest in that. I know I myself would like that, but I didn't know if anybody else would, Kevin, if being the vice president, if you'd be able to take the time to sit on that as well. And then, of course, we can't have a quorum, so maybe another member.
I would consider taking a third member and rotating it potentially, so that
Okay.
everybody has exposure.
I guess my question, is there a reason that it was done away with, or we just didn't know with the transition of the board that?
We met, I believe, and Ann's out there, I believe we only met, Ann, I think we met in the fall, right, beginning of the school year?
Spring of each.
And then at the spring and we just, so in the beginning of the school year, we would just ask what's going on, if there's any concerns. Then at the end of the year would be the same kind of thing. We didn't meet like on a monthly or daily or weekly basis, but it was good, just so the board could hear, both sides and understand what's going on, or some of the things that we wanted to move forward with, things like that.
Quarterly would be appropriate for something like that.
Quarterly?
I feel at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year, you're at two complete opposites of the spectrum. One, you're coming in with brand new expectations, everybody's coming off break, ready to go. At the end of the year, you're finalizing everything and there's no input or value added in the mid-year, so I would propose you do that quarterly.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
All right. So,
Yeah.
we're okay for that?
Wholeheartedly, yeah. I think it's important.
Okay.
And with that, we would have, just for clarification purposes, we have both our unions involved in both buildings, everything.
I believe that's how it was before, both
Generic,
union
an overall,
reps.
was that how it was?
No, we met strictly with WTA.
Oh, it wasn't.
It wasn't
was the two?
it wasn't a whole,
Oh, okay.
unit.
Okay.
But, I don't know, I think that would be something that I would probably want to talk with the union presidents about. They both have different issues, so I don't know if we'd want to meet together. You could, or maybe not, but there's different discussions that would take place within those committees.
Okay, so just,
Keeping it separate, or you're talking about keeping it together?
well, I'm just looking for information on the background of how it was done, really, for a better understanding of it. Now, in the past, was there, I'm assuming like building conditions, things like that would be what would be discussed, not exact language of contracts.
No, you would not talk.
Right, I'm saying there's not issues that way, so I guess that's why I was just curious on, do you foresee any reason that we couldn't meet with both unions at the same time? I'm just,
I think that would be something I'd like to bring back
and I'm not,
to both units to see how they
not
would.
really putting in the spot for it, no, that's fine, I'm just,
I think
there might be something I'm missing right now,
Right.
not,
maybe it makes sense to have a bigger cross-section of the district. No, it just doesn't have to be union focused, it seems like it would be, if you're actually doing this for, transparency, communications, whatever you wanna do, it just seems like you don't wanna pinpoint two branches out of the whole thing. You'd wanna have a cross-section, and
kind of what I'm,
it would make it,
Right.
seems like it would make it more productive.
So we meet, like the WTA, just so you do know, per contract, we do meet on a monthly basis, the WTA, with their reps and myself, and we have an administrator. I brought an administrator that's involved in that, so we do that on a monthly basis. With Westwood, it's a little bit different. Patty, if there's issues, we usually meet when there is an issue or just a discussion, so there isn't a monthly meeting like we do with the WTA.
As if it would work,
Well, I just-
both of them would be there,
I'm
that might be a good idea.
game to have you contact to see what parties are interested in, and if they don't wanna do joint, it's gotta be.
Right.
Separately. I like the idea of rotating though.
Excuse me.
I think then everybody gets a feel for it. Okay. Do we need a motion on that to set that up, Cory? Or,
No,
am I for a committee? Okay. All right, the other thing that I had was the DCMO BOCES calendar. I had, noticed that there's several days that we don't coincide with the BOCES calendar. And from what I understand, maybe you can correct me, the superintendents get together and then they develop the BOCES calendar, and then the districts can adopt that calendar. But then the districts can also change and, you know, fluctuate on that calendar. My concern is that we have so many CTE BOCES students missing instruction, more so in our district than other districts. And I'm just wondering,
So,
you know.
yeah, so I put out, actually I worked with Mr. Kanuski on this because it does involve the high school more than anyone, and I just wanted to give you a memo. So the calendar itself, Rhonda's correct about, I'm actually on the calendar committee for DCM BOCES, and, oh wait, that's the wrong one, I apologize. That comes out after. You know,
Do we have to?
So you don't want us to hang on these for
No,
now?
why not do these first? Maybe that's right here, sorry. So, you know, it takes us a couple months to develop the calendar. Each calendar, a lot of us put our input into it. Committee meets, the superintendents come back. They discuss the days that they want to do. We decide, for example, when to do like Thanksgiving break, Christmas break, midwinter break, spring break. And you'll see in different districts around New York State, spring break is one that's always different. Some people do midwinter break or not. So once that calendar is established, I bring it back to the administrative team, and we go through the calendar. And what we did, we started this about 3 years ago, is, well, actually it was started before I came down here, but we really put all of our days before Labor Day. So we have 3 days of professional development. We do that right off the bat. The administrators and myself, we set the agenda. We those 3 days, we do a lot, you know, we do our opening day, we do our professional development day. The teachers work in their classrooms, and it's unique only because we can do that. There are a couple other districts that do that. Delhi begins before Labor Day. Some districts cannot do that because of contractual, it's in their contract that they can't start before Labor Day. So the advantage of that, it allows us many advantages, and I put some things in here, and I'm just going to look at some of these so you can go over them. So the Labor Day we start before, gives us an opportunity for teachers to meet with the grade level, set up the rooms, gives them a long weekend in Labor Day, and then they come back and they start. It gives us a full week starting that Tuesday with four full instructional days, so there's no interruptions. We also started this year, we held our open houses for the high school and for the middle school, which worked out really well. We had a lot of positive feedback, so it didn't disrupt our games. You know, lots of times, and Mr. Gates can probably speak more than I can on this, but to do our open houses, we used to do it in the evenings with the middle school and high school. And sometimes you would have games, sometimes you wouldn't, so you wouldn't have such a great turnout. So this really allows for parents to come in on those 3 days, one of those evenings, pick up the syllabus, introduce themselves, talk to their teachers, and have everything ready when they start school that Tuesday. So it's worked out really, really well for us this year. Also, the 3 staff days means that we don't have to take the kids out of school during the regular school year. In a lot of districts, they have the 4 days. We don't do that. We try to put all our days, like I said, in August. This allows for, I think it's more convenient for parents, for our students. It doesn't disrupt any class time. And by doing the August dates, they're actually having 3 extra instructional days of classes at Walton. Also, with that, you know, I wanted just to talk about a little bit about the BOCES calendar. The big difference this year is we have midwinter break, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So those are the big 4 days. And I believe it was 7 days. If you look at the calendar, Mr. Kanusi actually did the calendar, and it breaks down the days that we're in session, they aren't in session. And you can see, you know, we have 63 CTE students and we have 1,000 students. So we try to look at what's going to benefit the majority of our students in the district and how that is going to benefit our kids. Our special ed kids, they do go during break. That does happen. I mean, I think if it is a conflict, or if you're concerned about the number of hours that our CTE students are missing, maybe we could talk about transporting them. That might be something, for midwinter break. The half days is another topic. We have parent-teacher conferences. Those can't be avoided. We have those in November. We had one in December. We have one coming up in February. So I know that Mr. Kanuski tries to switch like the AM and PM days. So if maybe a student missed in the PM, they send the AM, or vice versa. So there's many things that go into this. And to me, we just try to do the best thing for the kids when the administration at the end of the day looks at this. We spend a lot of time. It's not like we just spend a day on this and put the calendar together. There's a lot of input that goes in, to all of this. So it's not, it's thought through. And again, I think curriculum-wise, it gives us a really great advantage to start the school year with those 3 extra days. And we have the full day there. So that's one of the big reasons why we do that. And that's why it's different. I think that's another major reason why some of the calendars are different. And in other districts, for example, for midwinter break, they might have, and I know some districts have like, we all have Monday off. Some might have Tuesday or Wednesday off, or Tuesday off. So that doesn't correspond with the BOCES calendar as well. So, we try to correlate it best for the interests of the kids and families in the community.
I understand the flexibility, that the district needs, but I'm still concerned with the number of days that affect our district versus other districts. And they all must be planning in the same thing, with their half-day conference days and stuff like that. But I went down through every district, and the majority of them have 5 or fewer. And that's day for day, whether it's a half day or a whole day, but that's day for day. We have 14. So the way I see that is that there's almost 3 weeks that our students, not all of them, because you're saying that the special ed still go
Right.
on times. So the CTE students, how many did you have here? 63? 63?
Right.
They're learning a trade, and that's almost 3 weeks
Well,
that they're affected by that.
we went through this. If you look at it, we have 7 days that they miss. We have 7 days of instruction. You also have to remember, BOCES, for example, we're open, like last year we were open Tuesday, Wednesday. BOCES was not open Tuesday, Wednesdays, because that was their opening day. So we couldn't do anything with that. So some of those days, I don't know if you included, like some of the professional development day, like
Right,
Friday they're closed Friday. We have a half day Friday.
Right, if BOCES is closed, but that's
Right.
what I mean, it's still affecting those students. Whether BOCES is closed or we're closed, it's still, by not following the calendar a little bit closer, those students are still affected.
Well, even if
I just think that's a
right.
high number.
Well, even if you didn't do a midwinter break and you had the 7 days, that would bring it down to 3 days. I don't know, I think we, and I talked to superintendents, we all struggle with this with BOCES. It's a give and take, and I think we just try to do what's best for the majority of the students that we have and that we serve. And, like I said, I think the other thing is if it was a concern, we can always provide transportation for BOCES students if they're in session or we're not in session. That could be another alternative, as we do for our special ed. We're doing that next week for our special ed kids.
But then that's still gonna affect it when BOCES is off that week, then our kids, if they went to BOCES while BOCES was still in session, they give up that break that the rest of the students would have.
Right.
And then when BOCES is closed, they still have regular classes that they have to take. So they really don't get a break like the rest of the kids would get.
And I dealt with that when my son was doing the STEM curriculum, because when Walton's off, he was still up here at 7:15 going to Sydney. And when Sydney was off, he still had to be here. So it is to the detriment. I mean, you have a certain population of kids, albeit 63 of 1,000, who are encountering that, but it's, it seems like it wouldn't be to the detriment of the other, 900 or whatever, 937, if we adopted the BOCES calendar going forward.
But what you're asking us to do is not to start our professional development days, the 3 days. You're asking us, you're asking for those days now to be cut. So right now we don't, the only day that we have for professional development day is in January, where we make the week short. The rest are all full weeks for us regarding, well, the exception is our conferences, parent-teacher conferences.
But there must be like some sort of happy medium that we could come up with. Like, for instance, Sydney has 4 days that's affected, by them.
That's because they didn't do a mid-winter
Downsville
break.
has none, but they must follow the BOCES schedule completely. The next highest was Delhi, and then with 11, and then Walton. And like I said, I'm saying 14 because that's day for day. Whether BOCES is closed or Walton, is closed half a day or whole day, it's a day for day. But maybe we can just look at it and see if we can get that number down within range, so it's not a 3-week.
And I would say, to just elaborate on my other point, with some of these programs, they're very resource intensive. So some days, certain resources, and I don't know if it's the same at BOCES as it was at in Sydney, but some days these kids have a day slotted for use on a certain computer, or maybe with a 3D printer or something, that there's one resource allocated for the whole school, and this is their time with it. So if they aren't going, if Walton's not transporting that day, maybe they're missing that slot, and it's a hard time to get back in there to maybe make up a project that requires that resource. So that's something that should be taken into consideration as well. I'm not saying adopt it on a wholesale basis. I'm just saying, like Rhonda said, explore ways that maybe we can bring this down and minimize the number of days.
The number of days it's missed. So all the kids are getting an equal chance for education. And hopefully it's just early enough before that, 'cause when does it go to BOCES or to be adopted? Is that soon, or?
Well, the BOCES calendar was adopted. It's all, we sent our recommendation, was adopted. Yes, they had the board meeting yesterday. So once
Okay,
they
so
adopt
then
it,
ours will become-
then we'll
okay.
look at it, and then then we'll bring it to you.
Okay. All right, DCMO BOCES is seeking nominations for board representatives. This is something that we can bring back the nominations by March?
In March,
March
we're
meeting?
gonna have to give them a nomination.
Okay,
At least one.
okay, so at least one if you want to take into consideration.
Right. And then the component districts vote on all the nominations in April to
Okay.
elect the board members.
Okay, so by our March meeting, if we want to put somebody up for a nomination, we'll have to have it by then. All right.
Is there any criteria that needs to be met for that nomination?
Well, there is a Q&A there for you. If you have a specific question beyond that document, I could ask.
It was pretty detailed, though. I
Yeah.
think the answer.
Okay, I didn't always do that.
It's good reading. I like it. Q&A format's always good.
Mhm.
All right, correspondence information. We received, let me just find my file here, a letter of support from the Village of Walton. And the way I understand this, and Graydon, you might have to correct me, but the Village of Walton is seeking funding from the CWC for stream grade control structures adjacent to water and sanitary sewer line crossings in the Village of Walton. And they are asking for letters of support from municipalities in the school district for that to go along with their application for that funding. So if nobody has any objections to that.
Just one correction. It's actually to the Soil and Water Conservation District Stream Management Program.
What did I say, CWC?
That's
Sorry,
correct, yep, this is a
habit.
different program. The reason why, from a stream management program, is fully funded by New York City DEP for water quality initiatives. The villages and all municipalities, including school districts, are eligible for grant awards out of that program. The program requires that the municipality reach out to the other entities within the municipality for letters of support as a coordination effort, so everybody understands what they're doing, how they're doing it, how it impacts or doesn't impact your taxes in this case, because these grants are actually fully funded by the City of New York as a water quality initiative as part of the filtration avoidance determination. So this letter of support really is just reaching out to make sure that the village is talking with the Walton Central School Districts, with the town, and any other entities, the hospitals, things like that, so that everybody has a better coordination at their end.
Right.
But the grant itself is to the Soil and Water Conservation District Stream Management Program. It's not going to cost the taxpayers any dollars at all. It's fully funded. And it's not obviously not going to cost the school anything. It's just a letter of support.
And with 3 facilities within the village limits, we'll definitely benefit from anything that can be done to avoid damage during a flood event. So if everybody's in agreement with that, we will address that at new business. Thank you, Corey. Okay, we are up to presentations. We have Mrs. Rosa, senior class.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Senior trip time again, and this is Romany. She is the class president, so she's going to give you the highlights of what we're planning on doing this year.
So we are planning to go to Washington, D.C. this year. That's going to be a 3-day trip, and we are leaving Thursday, June 7th, pretty early, 7 a.m., and we're going to Baltimore first, actually, and we're going to the Baltimore Harbor for a afternoon just in Baltimore, and the dinner cruise, which will probably be fun. There's a dance there. And the second day, so June 8th, we will be going to Great American Amusement Park for the full day. That'll be a lot of fun as well. And hope I don't get sunburned. And on Saturday, June 9th, we will be going to the Spy Museum, which is going to be a really cool experience because you get to like solve crimes and stuff. And then going to be touring the monuments, which you have to do when you're in Washington, D.C. And that day, on June 9th, we'll be returning to Walton. And all the prices are listed there. And the cost for each student, we have about 43 students?
40 students.
40 students. Each will have to pay $216, but we are doing fundraisers. We've already done magazine sales and roast barbecue dinner. And we're currently doing Gertrude Hawk chocolate sales. And with all of those, students probably will pay for their full trip. If not, hopefully.
Fundraising is a weakness for this class.
The dinners were excellent, though.
Yeah, we did
excellent.
really well on that barbecue.
Yeah, it's good. It's a lot of work. And these are all to reduce the costs, and we also did the fly-in breakfast and babysitting night to reduce the cost per person. And these prices include 2 breakfasts and 2 dinners for the 3 days, and then we'll have to bring our own money for spending and additional meals if we want, like I guess lunches. And the chaperones for this trip will be Mrs. Rosa, Mr. Lamro, and Ms. Albrecht, and Mr. Kuniski. Any questions?
Now, how many students are in the class? I don't know that figure.
82.
So about half are interested in going.
Yep. A lot of surprises. People I didn't think were going to come signed up. So
Yeah.
very interesting group this year.
Oh, very nice.
Any questions?
Well,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
enjoy.
Have a good time.
Thank you.
Good luck fundraising.
Oh, okay. I think I'm good.
Okay, next we have the Orange and Black Boutique. Mrs. Gilbertson?
Hello.
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 I'm Karen Gilbertson. I'm school counselor here, and a year ago, well, actually in the fall, I had presented to you to start the Black and Orange Boutique here at Walton High School. And it was like October, so we had to get some shelving and things to get it started, accept donations. But we opened our doors on February 1st, 2017. And just kind of want to give you an update as to how it's been going and the impact we've had on our students. We have serviced a total of 405 students. which I think is pretty fantastic. Some of them are duplicate students. They come and shop frequently. Breaking that down, we have of the 405 students, 293 of them are females, 112 are male. That's about 27% male, 72% female. That kind of is like normal shopping, I think. Females shop more than men. I have guess I can pass this around to all of you. Breaking that down by grade level, our middle schoolers utilize the boutique more than our high school students. Not necessarily sure why, but I think our middle school students, you know, they come for the school supplies, the clothing, and so forth. Our high school students, sometimes they don't cross the threshold of going into the store to see what it has to offer them. We had a total of 890 clothing items that students got in the last year, a total of 365 hygiene items, and for school supplies, 963 school supplies were utilized. Now I say that because every pencil they take, every pen they take, every notebook that they take, we do count. And we also did an event where we collected prom dresses and formal wear for our prom. And we had 18 students come to get formal wear for our events that we have here. Nice. So it's run based solely on donations. We're lucky enough that we haven't run short of clothing or personal hygiene items or school supplies. For this semester, trying to increase the access students can have to the boutique, we have new hours. So we are open 7:45 to 8:15 every morning. And then we are open from 11:40 to 1 every day. So we're hoping that having more hours, and of course we always can go by appointment. If students, you know, they'll say, can you open the boutique? I need, you know, something, and we're happy to do that. So.
Now, do you find a lot of the high school students are making donations, like especially clothing donations?
Yeah, I mean, the donations come from community members, they come from staff members, they come from students. You know, sometimes like I'm on Facebook groups that are free sites and somebody's giving away free school supplies. I'm like, I'll drive to your house and pick them up. Salvation Army was great in getting us new backpacks. We did a back to school event in August for a week so people could come and get school supplies. We put out the school supply list so that they could come and do that. It's kind of just an ask and you will receive, and people help you out. So,
nice.
So it's been a success, and we hope to continue. So
I'm glad the students are utilizing it.
Yeah,
it's lucky that, you know, it's good that the middle school students are taking advantage of it. Good for them.
They like to just look and shop, and you know, they do it as a social group and come in. So.
Nice.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, SAT and Regents.
So Mr. Lamoureux, Mrs. Gilbertson and I are going to speak to this. Mr. Panuski, who could not be here this evening.
So Mark, before you begin, I just want to remind the board that you know, last year there was the talk about the SATs coming down. You'll see that there's a big increase as far as Regent scores. They have increased, I believe, the last 4 years. So we're pretty proud of the results that we had this year. Graduation rates are out. They are looking at those. You're going to see an increase of those, but we thought we would wait till March to present those to you because we wanted to share this information first with the board.
I just want to backtrack just a little bit. I don't know if you guys know how much work Mrs. Gilbertson did on the boutique, and she's done an awesome job. I mean, it's unbelievable. Our kids come in if they need anything.
There's always a bag in my trunk of something. It just stays there for like a week or two before I can bring it in. I'm like, forget it's in there. But and we are utilizing students this semester to help us staff the boutique.
Oh, very
You know,
Oh,
That's
good.
impressive.
Gail and I are just two people, and we didn't have enough time to, we have it open as much. So we have students who are in there, and they're loving it.
Very
you know.
good.
Now, if I heard of somebody who wanted to drop something off, they would contact you then?
Yep, yep, absolutely. I'll do pickups too. So yes, Mr. Kanuski cannot be here, so Mr. Lamoureux and I are here to present on SAT and Regents results. So provided to you is the statistics for the last 3 years and partially of this 2017-2018 year. Probably the most important thing to stress, as you can see, are improvements in the test scores that our students have had over the last 3 years. 2014-2015, our stats were a little bit lower. All of this data was collected from College Board data source, so it's available for everyone to go and access. But for 2014-15, yes, the scores were a little bit lower. Sometimes we just have a cohort of testers that don't perform as well, but the last 3 years we have seen significant improvement. There's, we met and we talked about what are some of these reasons why we've had more success and an increase in these results. And we have, my sticky note keeps falling. We implemented in 2015-16, before I was here, but started students in 8th grade taking accelerated math and accelerated science. And those students are now becoming our testers. So they've been exposed earlier to greater rigor in their coursework. We also started a middle school literacy program. We've also increased AP and college course offerings, and the rigor of coursework that we're offering our students, we feel is significantly impacting the better performing SAT scores of our students. We've added AP English and AP US History, and we have good enrollment numbers in those classes. We've also added additional college courses, which again helps our students perform. Going back to the accelerated math, students who take trig prior to taking the SAT, their math scores are significantly higher. So our students who have already taken algebra, geometry, and trig, by the time they get to their second semester of their junior year when they take the SAT, are going to have better test scores. We've had a stronger literacy focus. Kind of existed in our middle school, but we've now carried that into our high school, so that's making an impact. We also offer ELA and math labs to our students, which again helps them work on their vocabulary, helps them, work on their reading skills. And anything to add as far as
Math skills, and that should be 2016-17.
That's fine.
I was gonna let that go.
It's Kanuski's fault.
We were going over it in my office about 3:30, and I was like, students, the other thing that it was last year that free online SAT prep became available. It's called Khan Academy. Our students have access to that. In the past, SAT prep classes beyond what were offered at the schools, typically students had to pay for, but they have this online program that's now available to them that can be impacting their SAT scores.
I found that SATs are one of those things kids really have to be motivated a lot of times by themselves. I have a daughter who's a senior in college, has done very well in college, had no interest in doing well on SATs. We had every book available to her. And it was just, you have to have that kid that wants to be motivated to do well on those things. So a lot of the things that we've implemented over this past year, giving the access to be able to do those extra things, I think has really helped. But I can remember, I don't think I ever studied for the SATs. But it's definitely, kids will have to want to do it.
And what's not reflected in here, because I know the individual scores of, all students, but we have some really high scoring achieving students, that are getting above 600 on critical reading and math. And this is a snapshot of all of our test takers throughout the, each academic year. And we anticipate that our testers who test in the spring will kind of keep to this same trend of having increased test scores. Any questions on SATs?
Just for me and Mark, the lesson planning and the curriculum mapping was part of our connection with Harvard University, and Dr. Mercer that came, and the administrative team really took the lead on that, working with her that summer, and then she came, if you remember, in the fall, and she presented here. But we got a lot of information from her that helped to help our teachers that we pass that on. So it was the training there when she came and did PD here was extraordinary, really good stuff. So that connection with the lesson plan, I think, helped as well.
What limitations do you see in the future to keep this trend moving forward? Do you see any limitations other than individual motivation? I mean, are there other programmatic things that we could try to help clear roadways on?
I mean, my own thing is just sometimes you just have cohort groups, like that just might not necessarily want to take the SATs or need to take the SATs. There are some colleges that are moving towards SAT optional for their admissions decisions. So if students in their college search process, identify 2 colleges and they don't require the SAT, we may not have as many testers taking the SAT, but I mean, I don't see us, taking a downward drop because of all the interventions that we're putting in place, to help, student outcomes and supporting them. I don't know.
The SAT now has a voluntary essay component as well.
Right, that's been in place for a while.
Right, but I know, but what percentage of our students actually participate in that?
Taking the essay, it's a smaller portion of students. I don't know that I have a statistic, but in general, they don't take the essay unless there are very high achieving students or those that the colleges that they're applying to specifically are requiring that.
Okay.
Now with the 17, 18, ours are listed, in this report. At what time does the state and the national average come out with theirs to see where we are? Is it more so towards the end of the year?
There is after the last offering, which I believe is end of May or early June. After that, that's when it is, because they don't do testing during the summer. This past year was the first time that they offered an August test ever. We didn't personally have a whole lot of students taking that test, but that might be more utilized, the August test time before students start, going to school and so forth. They'll take the test before senior year gets kind of crazy and hectic for them.
It will be interesting to see what the numbers are for that. I mean, because our students did very well the first testing in 17, 18.
Right, comparing it to the, the previous years we did, so.
And the testers that are gonna be testing are, in the spring will be our juniors. And we have a pretty strong junior class. So I expect that, we actually just sent out the communication about, them taking, we offer a school-based SAT, and then they can sign up to take it at other locations as well, but I think we have a strong junior class. So next would be Regents. Mr. Lamar.
So looking through our Regents exams, you can kind of see where we've gone over the years, last couple of years. You'll notice this in January, you have our scores from in 2018 go down through. ELA is about where we've been. Algebra is a little bit of a drop. Geometry a little small drop. And then you'll notice the ones in the green, generally were pretty decent. And towards the bottom, we had a little bit of a drop in chemistry. One of the things, it's like we say, you talk about the cohorts that you have, and so it's kind of, difficult to look at some of those things sometimes. But I know that when we look at scores in algebra and also in earth science in June, our grades will usually increase at that point. We have those accelerated 8th graders that are taking those courses, and they generally do very well. So, those scores in the spring or in June, generally you'll see an increase in those. The one exam that will be interesting to watch is global, and that was 85% passing rate this year. In June, that's going to be a totally different exam. So generally, either it's going to be something that's very difficult, or maybe it's easier than they want it to be, and our students will do well. But in the end of that, we'll send our tests to the state, and we'll have basically a raw score, and then they'll determine what the grade is after that. But so it'll be interesting to see how those come out.
To go back to global, I know in the past, with my own son, it was offered, like, it could be offered first semester, 1 year, and then first semester, another year, because there's 2 components, and then you take the regions. Is that still set up that same way?
Well,
I
the new
feel so
test,
sorry for
the
kids
new
that have
test
to do
in
that.
June, it used to be the Global Regents exam was based on Global 1 content and Global 2 content. So you didn't test until after you completed Global 2, but it was based on, 2 years of content. The June test is being revised to only test Global 2 content. So hopefully,
In theory,
in theory, students will do better because they don't have to retain information that they learned the previous year to taking the test.
Right.
So that's what we would anticipate. But anytime the state makes a new test, for the validity of that, test, it's either sometimes it comes out and it's, really difficult because they are kind of just testing that, or it's, a little bit easier because they're not sure where to start before adjusting that test over a couple of years. So that's why those raw scores are sent, for them to kind of look at everybody in the whole state before sending back what the actual score will be for the students.
Is that a function of the state catching up with semestering, or is it just a coincidence?
That I don't think.
who knows what they do?
Yeah.
Depends.
Because
That's the Common Core and alignment,
Yeah.
new gen standards.
I mean, seems pretty obvious if you're going from a 2-year retention down to less than 6 months retention time on the same content.
And for a lot of our students, that's a difficult test to pass. I mean, it seems like every year we're looking at seniors that have taken it several times and they're trying to pass it. But actually, this year we're good, I believe. I think everybody's already passed it, the seniors. But yeah, I think it makes sense.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was a little worried about my son just took it. And I know it was a year that he had.
So it would be less of a difference for us if, scheduling someone's Global 1, semester 1 of 9th grade, and then they don't get Global 2 till second semester of 10th grade, and they've had that huge gap. It won't have the impact on their, regents scores.
Do we know, like, chemistry? I mean, that's quite a change there in chemistry.
Yeah.
Could that be, like, number of students that were possibly
Yeah,
taking the
and
test as
that's
well?
sometimes, you look at that as a very small cohort of kids that are taking it, and you get a group of kids that, don't do well. I guess it's 1 or 2 kids can really skew your number. And
Right.
Because sometimes the classes are really small and it's only like 8 students, and sometimes it's a larger group and it might be, 16 or 18 students. So just depending on the size of each class that's taking that, you get failures with 8 kids.
But I know
impacts your percentage.
I know the person that's teaching that course is also looking at, like, going back through to find out, what they missed and how many of those missed that topic, and he'll rework how he teaches it.
Okay, good. All right, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we are up to additions to the agenda. we have,
Yes, we have an item for your consideration. You're suggesting a consent agenda item, 8H. It is a resignation from Director of Special Education.
We are welcome to say no to that, right?
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Out of respect, I think we would consider it, but
She's bettering herself.
She'll be missed. Amanda did a good
Yes.
job.
And I will as well.
Definitely. All right. Okay, so in our consent agenda, we have the financial reports. We have the transfer of funds. If anybody has any questions on these, just let me know. The approval of the senior trip. The approval of the school psychologist contract. And that is a per diem, right? And the personnel appointments. We have student teacher and Emily Pitt, athletic directors, athletic recommendations. And then adding resignation of Amanda Hoover. Do we have any questions? Okay, do we have a motion to
Move 'em.
accept?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carried. Okay, we are up to new business.
congratulations and good luck.
Yes. Okay, new business. We have accepting of donations. We have several of these. $20 from Butch and Judy Neal to the senior class. There's your fundraising.
Is that a late dinner? Is that a late dinner?
Yep. They were all sold out.
$50 from the Walton Booster Club to the athletic department in memory of Destiny Twyman. $25 from Pam Groutman to the athletic department in memory of Destiny Twyman. Again, the same amount for the music department in memory of Destiny Twyman. $100 from Palmer's Repair Shop, and that's $100 to the athletic department and the music department in memory of Destiny Twyman. $25 from Jacqueline Clark to the music department band in memory of Destiny Twyman. $180 from Wayne Bank for the 2017-18 Townsend School Math League contest. And $1,500 from Upcountry Photo to the yearbook club. Do we know, has Destiny's family set up the criteria of that scholarship? Not yet? Okay. Just wondering what that was going to go to. So we appreciate and thank all those donations. And do we have a motion to accept those donations?
I'll move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the next one is the approval of the feasibility study project license agreement. And Steve Dutcher, the floodplain manager, is here, so if anybody does have any questions on that, he might be better to answer that. But this is a request for funding from the CWC. I knew I was going to CWC. Flood Hazard Mitigation Implement Program. And this is a feasibility study for the bus garage, flood-proofing possibilities of the bus garage facility. Are there any questions on that for Steve? I think for the most part, if I understand this, Braden, how you explained it, the feasibility study is not of local funds as well?
That's correct. The
City?
Catskill Watershed Corporation has set up a flood mitigation program that's county-wide within the New York City watershed. It looks at structures like this after analysis, the flood analysis has been done. This feasibility will really look at the structure in cooperation with the code enforcement officer, floodplain manager, CWC, and our facilities and transportation managers. walk through the structure itself and say, is there anything that can make it more flood resilient? The study itself is up to $5,000. It's paid for by CWC, not the taxpayers of the district. It's basically can come up with a long-term plan to say either you have options to make this better or you do not have any other options. And if the options pan out, they will actually come up with an analysis that says here's what you would go for funding and here's what you can do to make the thing more resilient to stave off damages in the future. So it's basically a feasibility study that does not commit you to implementing anything. It's to look at wholly at the structure and the fueling facility and say, can it be made more flood-proof in the future? And the CWC will pay for all of that.
So if something is found, then it's still not a cost to the taxpayers, but.
Correct. These are a lot of outside dollars coming into the district, so that our taxpayers, for example, if we have a flood that costs $2 million worth of damages in that bus garage and it could be avoided and paid for by somebody else other than a taxpayer in the WCS district, we should take advantage of that. So that's why you're seeing a lot of these recommendations come out. It's a matter of timing of a lot of these flood analysis have been done, not only in Walton, but across the county. And now it's time to start implementing some of these things. And the good news is that the taxpayers of Delaware County and our school district are not funding these. And so that's a great advantage to bring those outside dollars in. I think it's long overdue to bring in some of these dollars.
I agree. Okay, so do we have a motion to accept that agreement?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
How fast can I get that back in my hands? On
Tomorrow?
signature.
Tomorrow? Is that okay?
Okay, because, I only ask because CWC's deadline is the 16th for setting their agenda for March. So if I can get that signed, I can get emailed to them and also make hard copies. I'm probably gonna make a run there on Friday just to make sure that they have everything. And that way I can assure that this will hit their committee table in March, in the March meeting.
Would you like to just stop by tomorrow?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, next we have the Curriculum Instructor Coordinator Consultant and Stipend from Michelle Reed. Does anybody have any questions on that? Do I have a
Move it.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, and then we are up to new business D, rescind resignation. This is a resolution accepting the resignation of Leanne Otto, school nurse at the January 23rd, 2018 Board of Education meeting. B, and is hereby rescinded in its entirety, and that Leanne Otto shall be restored to her non-competitive class position of registered professional nurse without a break in service. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then we have a personnel emergency appointment. And this is the appointment, and hopefully I get her name right. It's Samantha Miola.
Correct.
Samantha Miola. Samantha has been appointed to the non-competitive class position of registered professional nurse. And she will be serving in our high school office. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Now, is the LPN still here or is not?
The LPN is still
LP
yep,
is
in place,
In the
yes.
middle school, high school office,
Okay.
yes.
Want to make sure?
Yep. And then we, under new business, we have the appointment of a new curriculum director, Jane O'Shea. Everyone here has met her. This is Jane O'Shea.
Let me do a little introduction.
Yep.
Jane. So, welcome, Jane.
Thank you so much.
And everybody, so you met all our board. So, just a reminder, I believe we had about 16 applicants for the position. We went through, the administrative team went through and we interviewed, I believe, 8 of those applicants. And then we had the whole district team interview 4 of those applicants, and Jane was the final candidate. So we're very pleased to have her. Just a summary of Jane, and Jane, if I get this wrong, you can interrupt, okay? So she's originally from England, and she lives in Guilderland, New York. She received her degree from the University of London at Chelsea College in England. and then she made her way across the pond, right, to the United States, right? I'm fast forwarding, so. And she received her admin certification from St. Rose College in Albany. She has served as an elementary coordinator, a principal, curriculum coordinator, curriculum and IP coordinator, science teacher, and adjunct professor, and she was also a candidate for the Fulbright Teacher Exchange. So she comes with us with a lot of knowledge, experience, and so we're very pleased to have you here. And I know you're going to fit in great with our administrative team and with our staff, and we're looking forward to working with you. So I'd like to officially welcome you.
Thank you, and I'd like to say thank you very much for the very warm welcome, and I thoroughly enjoyed the interviews. We had great conversations, and I'm really looking forward to working with the staff here.
And she starts next Tuesday. She will be in district.
Wonderful. Good. You're welcome. Okay. Need a motion?
I'll make that.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, and now we have the letter of support to the Village of Walton. Is everybody in agreement with that? Do I have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I'll abstain because it's addressed to
And-
myself.
All right, and we are up to superintendent remarks.
Thank you. So just a reminder, this Friday is a half day. We have our middle school and elementary school parent-teacher conferences, and then it's also our high school open house because we started our second semester a couple weeks ago. So we're looking forward to that. I'm hoping parents will stop in to see the high school teachers, get a syllabus, say hello, maybe introduce themselves. And I know the principals are targeting the students for that half day at both the middle school and the Townsend Elementary School. So the other thing I just wanted to, if you weren't aware, Caleb Robinson won the Section 4 title for wrestling in his weight division. Very excited. It's a big thing. He'll be going to Albany next week. And I think we might have three.
We just got kind of
Go ahead.
official/unofficial word.
So why don't you go ahead and announce it?
Three others. Chandler Merwin, Cody Merwin, and Bailey Woodall are in pretty close to officially as well.
Okay.
So
So unofficially, but official.
Which is a record, because I'm not sure if we've ever had even three. I think it's two.
No, I haven't.
So.
That's great.
We aren't supposed to know officially till tomorrow
Yes.
at noon, but word's getting out right now. You know how technology.
So they'll be making a trip up there next Thursday. I think Mr. Lammer will be going as well. So, and it starts next Thursday, right? Friday, Saturday. Okay.
It's been nice tracking the wrestling team through the year. They've done excellent.
Also, as you know, that's why we're having our board meeting. We have our first of our MAC game tonight with the boys. If they win, and I'm not going to jinx anyone, but if they do win, they go to EU Friday night at 8 o'clock. Our girls play Wednesday. Andy, why don't you go ahead and say
Yeah, the girls, had an upset win at UB last night, so they play tomorrow at Unitigo. That's the matchup for 5th place. They're in the 5 through 8 bracket. The girls are qualified for sectionals, and they will play, chances are, on the road next Wednesday. The boys, depending on how we do, probably going to definitely have a home game, maybe even a shot at a bye. If they had a first round game, it'd be here next Tuesday. Chances are we might have a bye and we'd host next Friday. That's, as soon as I get, I should have officially that by Thursday late afternoon or Friday morning. I'll get that all.
So we'll get that information out to you as soon as.
And hopefully we win, and I got tons of information about all the stuff on the MAC championship Friday night. Fingers crossed.
We had a busy couple of weeks in Walton, so should be very proud of our basketball teams, the boys and the girls and the wrestling. So. The other thing I just wanted to talk to you about is the YMCA wraparound program. Mr. Snyder and Mrs. Gates and myself have set a meeting in the next couple of weeks to meet with the YMCA to talk about the wraparound program, which they provide extracurricular before school and after school and during the school, but we just got to figure out how we want that to work out. So we have some discussion on that, but I'll get back to you on that. But it's another extension, the Y program when they came here to start their after school program. When I talked with Lisa also, she's going to add, I think, a full month of the summer camps, which is great. I think it was like 2 days or 2 weeks last year, but just had some inquiries about adding it for a full month, so which is great. And you heard me talk about our presentation. So what our plan is to do a series of presentations here at the district. And I know the high school counselors, I know Karen's been involved in this, and Justin and Mr. Kanuski, Andy's been involved in it, Mark's been involved in it, and myself, and we reached out to Mary and Mosman. The first presentation will be on internet safety for our students. And if you remember, we did this a couple of years ago. So we're going to continue to do that. We're going to, it'll be, I think it's K, is it first grade, Mike? Or K? Are we doing
K2 and then 3-5.
K2, 3-5. Then the 6th through 9th, we'll do that during the day. And then we'll have an evening presentation for the community. And then our next presentation will be on some drug awareness. We're going to really focus on the meth that's happening through my community meeting. The chief has talked about that, and the heroin addiction. And our next one will be on mental illness. And our last one will be the DWI, because we're on prom time. So we're going to send out some flyers and letters. So I'm hoping all of you can make it. We'll get the dates out there for you. Even if you can't make the evening ones, if you can make it during the day. And I think one is scheduled, Great in Maryland, during our community meeting. So we'll be done. And if you wanted to come in to see one of those presentations, it'd be great to have you there. And also, I haven't really talked about this, but our Walton Ski Club, there's not a lot of people that are involved in it, but they're trying to get students motivated to join and to get them going. They have a couple more trips that are going out, so we're looking forward to that as well. And next week is midwinter break, so there's no school for students. And that's it. And I, under mine, I had Tim do a little budget summary. I asked him if he could just speak to you about the budget.
Okay.
Tim?
All right, very briefly, I just noticed as I look at the agenda, I'm usually right before adjournment. That's really never a good place.
Well, I put
you guys in the door, I know. Right? I mean, I asked for it, I get it, but, all right, so, at this point in time, and I think some of you guys have seen already, just to go over the 2% tax cap, which actually is, interestingly enough, when we talk about SATs and scores and things like that, actually is 2% at this point. For the first time in 4 or 5 years. Last year, if you remember, it was like 1.25%. Now we're looking at the full 2%. For us, that means on the levy, we can raise about $129,000. And then I think you guys had talked about the governor's proposal. It gave us about, I have 172,000. Your estimate's a little bit better, the 132, probably because I'm not comfortable with some of the estimates they had on some of the cost-based reimbursements. So probably about 132, so that gives us about $250,000 to $300,000. Last year's budget went up about 360, so hopefully we can stay in the same ballpark and we'll be in good shape. The main goal right now is just literally pouring through all of the different line items and trying to identify where all of the costs on those line items are going. I'm trying to be exceptionally detailed with regards to where all of these expenditures are going. And over the next little while, I'll share that information with you. Let's see, what else did I say? Oh, and the other piece of this is that once I've gone through and kind of identified some of that, I will be sitting down with the principals, department heads, and whatnot to just kind of go over those things and also see if there's anything that's missing or that is coded in an area that it shouldn't be, and we need to move it to a different location. So we'll figure all that out as we go along. I think the overall goal here is still the same, is to preserve and potentially enhance some of the opportunities that we have for our students. It's always encouraging to see, the progress of our students, be it on the SATs or the Regents exams. And I think that, that's the main focus. And my job is to make sure I can help shepherd those resources into providing those opportunities for our students. So that's kind of where we are at this point in time.
And Tim, could you just comment, because when we met with Rhonda to go over the budget, you talked about the fund balance, the difference, just so people know our fund balance.
All right, so fund balance wise, I don't know how far we want to go.
I meant like the 4%, where we can only have 4%. And you don't have to go into great detail.
Because that gets me all riled up.
I meant no, just explain that the school district can have a 4%.
Right, that's the part that gets me riled up.
All right.
What we're talking about is, there was a recent, the Broome County recently had a comptroller's audit.
And in the comptroller's audit, they were cited for not having an appropriate fund balance. And I think most of you know that the most a school district can have is 4%. The comptroller is quoted in the article as indicating that a healthy fund balance is something that's required for financial stability, which is an interesting comment given that you're only allowed to have 4. The other thing that he said was that their recommendation to municipalities is to have 2 months worth of your expenses in fund balance. Well, 2 months of your expenses would typically turn out to be about 16.5% of your budget. The school district's only allowed to have 4%. So it's just interesting to me. I get where they say that, you know, our limit is 4%, but it's interesting also that they indicate that, you know, 16.5% is a more appropriate amount, yet we're not allowed to have that. And often get cited for that if you have more than. So again, that does get me a little bit crazy, but, you know, it's what it is. Those are the rules that we work under at this point in time. That being said, that's one of those things that we will work on too, is that, you know, one of my operating things is to make sure that we can preserve the programs, and I try very hard to remember the reason that we are here. But the other piece of that is to try and stay stable. I don't like large fluctuations one way or the other. I prefer to try to stay right at an even keel so that we, you know, continue to preserve the programs, and also that we don't give any surprises to taxpayers and, you know, other people with regards to what happens with our levy and the other things. So that's kind of the overall focus of what I'm looking at for this.
So future meeting dates, will he first meet with the facility or the
Directors and principals.
financial or no,
Finance committee?
finance
Yes.
committee? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, and then we'll set
And
up
go from
dates
there.
for the
Quorum.
Okay. All right. That's good. We don't know when, any idea? We're looking at March?
Probably March, the first one. Yeah.
Okay. All right, yeah. Makes me
Thanks
nervous
for-
it's coming right on.
Two public forums in March usually?
We usually do the community forum. Then I think this one will be different, but we usually do the community forum, then we come back and we'll present a preliminary budget. Once we meet, we'll meet with finance and then present it.
So it's.
At
you
least
know,
2.
I was saying, I thought I remember tracking
yeah.
2 last year that were public session workshops on it. Okay.
And just one other thing, I am working on that dashboard. You've asked about
Yes.
that. And it's the same thing. We've had snow days and delays where we've had meetings set up. There's some things that Tim and I have to meet with them about the finance piece to put it up there, but hoping to get that rolled out in the next month so I can bring it to you, so you'll be able to see it. And it should be it's going to be some pretty good information, I think. Stuff that you were asking for in the fall.
Okay, so you'll get those meetings dates to
Yes.
us as soon as possible. All right, so we have a need for executive session.
Yes.
This is the matter relating to an employment of a particular person.
And
correct?
student
And
matters.
student matters. Okay, do I have a motion?
Move it.
For-
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion